I'm Stefan Jones-Hughes. I'm director of Oriel Davies Gallery in Newtown, and we're working with Alyn Smith, who is a printmaker and illustrator based in Cardiff. Hi, Alyn. How are you?
Hi there. Yeah, like you said, I'm a printmaker and illustrator, and I started off doing a bachelor's degree in illustration graduating in 2007. And since then, I've been a member of a couple of print workshops. So firstly, it was the Swansea Print Workshop, and then for about 7 years up until today, a member of the Print House workshops which is part of Chapter Art Centre in Cardiff. But at that time, I was for about 8.5 years been a stay-at-home parent. So it's only kind of recently, having just completed an MA in printmaking at Bristol UE, that I'm kind of getting back into printmaking and enjoying where that takes me.
So we're talking to you today in your studio in Cardiff.
Yep.
And surrounded by all of your sort of, your kind of working environment. It's really nice to be in your studio. Can you just maybe give us some idea where your ideas come from?
So it's only up until recently that a couple of friends pointed out to me that I look a lot at kind of toys. And mid-century toys. So one of my favorite places to go to is the Museum of the V&A Museum of Childhood. The kind of toys where you have to build and stack, so like Lego and kind of building blocks. Take a lot of inspiration from toys, and also especially mid-century kind of graphics illustration, as well as kind of toys from that time. And the way I work is in a very toy kind of way. So you mentioned my studio. Here is I've got kind of shelves of my toys, my kind of printmaking toys. So I have, in an old cigar box, I've got my body parts. So I'll show that again. So here's they're all pieces, and it's kind of based on the idea of a kind of doll, I suppose, like a kind of puppet looking at the toys. And because they're stamps that I can kind of overprint them, and I don't have to line them up perfectly. So I've also got a kind of just symbols. So I produced all these little vinyl labels for everything. So I've got kind of like raindrops and like stars. So when I start a project or start an image, I kind of think about what toys and what kind of sets I'm going to play with and stuff. So yeah, I've got some little bits on the shelf as well. I kind of put some toys and some tin robots, and yeah, I think I could easily spend lots and lots of money on old toys and things like that, but I'm kind of keep it curated into just a couple of shelves in the studio.
So in terms of the project that we've kind of collaborated with you and with our local community on a project for Oriel Davies, and it is called Building a Future. And maybe just tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, it links quite closely. One of the reasons we wanted to work with you was because of that connection with mid-century image and colour, and the idea for the project. Maybe just you tell us a little bit about the project.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll kind of just say where my head was at when we kind of started talking and started the project. So yeah, when we kind of started talking, and you were kind of saying, right, we want to do a project on cards that slot together, kind of loosely based on the Eames House of Cards. And even since then, I've looked back at the image I've taken it from the Childhood Museum, and it's not. I've got photos of the Eames House of Cards, and I've also got some other ones that kind of look similar. So it was a really nice crossover with kind of what I do and that what you wanted to do. And like I said, I've not long graduated in a pandemic from Bristol, and kind of having this project in my inbox felt like a bit like a dream come true, really. It was just like, hang on a minute. It's like mid-century, limited color palette, toys, sign me up. So and when we kind of talked about the project, it was nice that you were interested in kind of having my input and how I interpreted it as well, so that was a real plus point for me, being able to kind of have discussions and been able to interpret that my way and my kind of childlike processes that I use. So it's been a really fun project to work on.
And the project coincides with a partnership that we've got with National Gallery in London, which is called the Masterpiece Tour. And as part of that tour, we're going to be showing a painting by Chardin, which is called The House of Cards, which is where that kind of idea came from. But you took some inspiration from the painting yourself. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, so a lot of people in lockdown have kind of been doing things that they wouldn't necessarily normally do, or kind of mindful exercises, and starting new hobbies, and I kind of saw a parallel between the kind of painting and what people have been doing in lockdown. And the idea that you're building something, it's more about the process rather than the finished thing. So whether that be kind of mindfulness coloring books, or learn an instrument badly, like it's one of those things where it's not necessarily about what you end up at the end of it, but it's the kind of the process and where your head's at when you do it. So yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned to me the other day, and I was really surprised because I hadn't clicked on this one, but you mentioned about I said I really like the colours that you chose for the work, because obviously we talked earlier about it being a limited colour palette, but
yeah,
you kind of took the inspiration from the painting.
Yeah, so I literally got the painting up on Google search, and I put the eyedropper onto the because I thought, well, having discussed with you that it was going to be the next room, I thought it would be a nice link to have some kind of tie-in visual, even if it's quite subtle. So yeah, I got the eyedropper up from the National Gallery, and I thought, well, they're great colours to work with anyway. So,
but it is quite interesting, isn't it? Because when you go back to the painting, to the Chardin, and actually really look at it, the cards that he's playing with are really nice as well, and I can completely see that connection with your work when I kind of look at that. Do you think the project will influence anything in terms of how your practice develops? Or
definitely, I'm already thinking, right, what toys can I make next? Like what can I put my hand to next? Yeah, and the feel of the cards is really nice, and I know it's important to you to get the kind of sustainably sourced materials and as eco-friendly as possible. I mean, the cards themselves are really nice. So
yeah, so as part of the project itself involves these cards that we give out to people in the hope that they'll draw their input on the back of the cards and then send them back. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And we're hopeful that they'll send them back in following the prompts on the front, and then we'll be able to sort of build the largest house of cards in Wales inside the gallery, with both your work on one side and other people's visions for a future on the other. So it's a lovely idea, and really sort of positive coming out of the pandemic. And
I think since we started the project, I found I've been researching into like the Eames House of Cards, and when that originally came out, there was a kind of pamphlet in it that you can construct it in. You can kind of put them like this and all sorts of ways. So it'd be really interesting to see how it kind of develops and how it ends up.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Alyn. It's really great to speak to you again. And we just look forward to sharing the exhibition with the public in July, August and September of this year. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, Alyn.
No, thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.